In this video, we're painting 3D printed tunnel portals for HO scale model railroad.
Hello and welcome to a video tutorial with Marklinofsweden. I just got back from, I was down in south of Sweden visiting a railway club there, traveling with their train. It's a kind of museum train association, and so great fun. Met a lot of interesting people with a lot of knowledge about the railroad history, so it's awesome, fantastic. And now I'm back a few days before I'm going away, a couple of weeks with family to some regular vacation. But I got in the email this few days ago, just before I got home, new 3D models from Model Railroad 3D. And it's tunnel portals, and I kind of, wow, tunnel portal and 3D print those. That was not my first thought. I was kind of hesitant, you know if I mean. But I made a trial. I tested to print these and to paint them, and they actually turned out pretty nicely. So I've painted previously. I've been doing most tunnel portals in styrofoam. So all the engraving of all the stones and everything, and you cut it apart and glue it together again to get the structure of the tunnel portals. That has been covered before in previous videos, but I've actually never 3D printed a portal. So it was kind of interesting to see what the final result turned out to be. So this is a guide for how to paint and weather a tunnel portal in plastic. If it's 3D printed or if it's purchased in the shop, it's up to you. If you 3D print it, I looked at the cost for it. It's a cost saving between 70 to 50% approximately. If you print a few of them, so like 3 or 4, then you do a good deal. Otherwise, maybe not. So I'm putting up a link up to where you find this set of 3D models, so you can just print at home and then paint using the instruction here in this video. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started.
Alright, so this is what the items look when they're just being printed, ready and hanging there in the print head. Next thing we're gonna do, or first thing actually, is to clean them. So I swipe them off down into my bin with methanol and run them for 8 minutes. And once those 8 minutes have elapsed, we can dry the parts on a piece of bathroom tissue, and then they will look like this. So this is the angled sidewall, and we just break off the supports like that and throw that away. Then we break the supports off for 1/2 of the portals, and these supports up here needs to be cut with a side cutter, otherwise you risk damaging the portal. So now I'm just tearing these off. It's a very rigid part, so you don't have to be afraid of damaging it. So ahead of post-curing now, I do the assembly. In some cases, when it's just a limited amount of parts like this portal, then I do the assembly ahead of post-curing. So I apply the fast-set glue here, and the reason is that the fast-set glue fixes much better to uncured resin parts than cured. So after this, then I'm post-curing the items for 4 minutes, and once cured, I spray paint them with a primer. I use Tamiya Surface Primer Fine Gray. And with that done, we can start the paint work. And I'm starting with a concrete color. For this, I'm using acrylic-based color from Vallejo. This paint is actually called concrete. I'm using the same paint, mixing in some gray, basalt gray into it to get a variation of the gray, to get some stones in another shade compared to the rest. And at this point it might look very worrying, but there is no reason to worry, because we're going to add a black wash over the entire portal. I make the wash from 1 part Vallejo black and 9 parts airbrush thinner. and then you get something that looks like this. Application can be made with either a round, soft, large brush, or like I have here, a flat, wide brush. It's not all that sensitive. Now this very thin black paint, this wash, will create what we called artificial shadowing, and it would kind of sink into all the crevices and cracks in the wall and enhance the parts which are kind of sticking out of every stone. So, and it will also level out the different shades of gray on the portal. So these stones we painted separately in a darker gray will kind of blend into the rest of the stone wall in a natural way. So the black wash is key. So if you're buying a kind of plastic portal and you don't want to do all that much with it, add at least the black wash. I'll leave this to dry for a moment, and you will see that the black kind of disappears into the cracks and crevices. Once this is completely dry, we're gonna dry brush white on the portal. Dip the paintbrush in the paint and then wipe most off on a piece of paper. After that, we're kind of brushing over the structure that's sticking out in the wall. This will brighten the color of the gray stones and highlight the structure of the stones. With the white paint, which is also acrylic white from Vallejo, we're also creating some chalk streaks like this. So I'm kind of putting a drop of white in the top like this, and then I'm just making a vertical distribution of that white paint downwards. And if you think it becomes too strong, then just wipe off the excess paint with your finger, and you will be able to work back and forth until you get the right whiteness or the desired whiteness of your chalk runnings. Concrete typically has streaks of black and corrosion red. This is created with a round, small, soft brush, which are dipped into black or corrosion red paint. Same here, you apply until you feel happy with it. Now, one additional thing you can do, which is easier to do once you have the portal still on the table rather than placed on the layout, is to add some moss in the lower part of the portal. This depends a lot of where your portal ultimately will be placed. So if it's close to some yard somewhere in a dry place, well, then moss might not be the option for you. But if it's somewhere along the line on a forest edge, this is very relevant. So I thin standard white glue, wood glue, and apply that in the cracks between the stones. And then I use this woodland scenic turf. It's in color burnt grass, and I kind of powder that from top, and then it will look like this. So that's about it. I think to be a 3D printed portal, this turned out a whole lot better than I first anticipated.
All right, so I think it was actually pretty much better than I anticipated from start. So this was definitely, I mean, if you're choosing between buying hard foam plastic portals from the shop or, you know, using these, I think they're perfect. and it gives you a lot of cost saving. But if you want to fully customize your portals and engrave them stone by stone in styrofoam, I think you probably you're better off doing that. But of course, that is about 20 to 40 hours just engraving and doing the painting and putty, plastering putty. So it's a lot of work. Of course, this is much easier and still gives you an awesome result. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have use for the information provided in the video, if you watch the channel regularly, why don't you get over to Patreon? Set up a support account there from $1-2 per month, or make a one-off donation using the PayPal dialog found in the video description below. And if you're not yet a subscriber, subscribe, enable that little bell, and you will get a notification once next video gets published. Until that happens, see you.